Hi everybody, I'm Byron. Today I'm going to review the next episode, episode 7 of Family Ties. Big Brother is watching. Uh, it's not that. It's not about that. It's not about the literary reference to Big Brother. It's just because Alex is Mallory's big brother is really the reason. Although I wonder if you could interpret it in a literary way. I might circle back to that. So Alex uh, wants to. Oh, so Alex gets a job as editor. A job. He gets elected editor of the school paper, and he wants to shake things up. He wants to make things, a more exciting, more fun paper. He wants to change it to the Herald. It's called the Hurrah. And on his first day, coincidentally, he learns that 27 students cheated on their algebra final, and he wants to print that story. But the principal is covering it up because they have the best grades in the state, and if they found out that people cheated, it's going to hurt that. And so the principal's covering it up, and he's told not to run the story. And I guess, important part of the story is that Mallory was one of the students. And that is where the drama comes in. Alright, so of course, uh, Mallory finds out he's thinking about running the story before he actually runs it, and he gets in a little argument with her, and then they talk to their parents. And of course, without telling them what's actually going on, because they don't want to tell them that Mallory cheated on the algebra final, they argue about whether or not a story should be sat on or run. And uh, they keep talking and talking and talking, and Alex will say something, and Stephen will go, "That's a good point. I agree with you, Alex." And then Mallory will come back with a counterpoint, and she'll go, "That," and Stephen will go, "That's a great point. I agree with you, Mallory." And he doesn't really understand that they're arguing because he doesn't know what the real issue is. So he keeps agreeing with people. And mm, and he says, "Truth is the highest standard in journalism." And that's important because it comes back later. And obviously, Alex decides to run the story. It wouldn't be much of an episode if Alex didn't decide to run the story. But he decides to run the story. But before he does that, at the end of the whole dad scene, dad is talking and he says, "As I look back over the history of journalism," and he just meanders through that. And while he's talking, everyone just leaves the kitchen. So that's funny. Um, and so he runs the story, and then everybody hates him, including his sister. And so we have a few, and this again, the real point of a sitcom is not the actual situation, it's the reaction to the situation. It's not that a story was run in the paper and Mallory cheated, it's how the people react, it's the family dynamic after the event happens. And so the first conversation is between Mallory and her parents. And her parents, they argue and argue and argue. And she says that the main reason is she's just trying to be as good as Alex. And that's the why she cheated on the test. Because and and Dad Stephen kind of agrees with that point when he says Alex would not have come with a C because he'd still be at school arguing with the teacher. And then he says Napoleon wasn't. Oh, and Mallory says, uh, you are as smart as Alex. You're just not as motivated as Alex." And then Stephen goes, "Napoleon wasn't as motivated as Alex." And anyway, she says it's hard to follow Alex in class, and because he was so smart, and the teachers all loved him. And I want to bring up that my sister actually got a little of that. My little sister. She was never that little. She's only a couple years younger. I guess Mallory's only a couple years younger as well. But she came into school after me, and the teachers would always ask if she was my sister. But of course, it wasn't because I was so smart. It's because I made quite the impression when people would meet me. They remembered me, not because of my good grades, but because just having me in class is a thing you remember. And she didn't really care for that, but it wasn't, I don't think, as big a deal as they're making it out to be in this episode. And and okay, so then the parents start talking to Alex, and they say, "You didn't really care about who you hurt. Didn't you feel sorry for any of the kids that who cheated on the test?" And Alex comes back and says, "What about Nixon? What about Watergate? Didn't you feel sorry for Nixon?" And Dad goes, "Of course I felt sorry for him." He didn't feel sorry for him. He he didn't care, and it's kind of interesting how we. It's a kind of an interesting take on how we sort of dehumanize public figures. And when something happens to a family member, you care a lot. It's a little different to you than when something's happening to a public figure like this. And they the option came up again, and this was raised at the beginning of the episode, but the option it was raised again here is that he could have printed the story without the names. Could he have? It's not really made clear again whether he actually could have, whether that would have worked. And if he prints the story, I think the names are going to come out anyway. They're going to have to because they're going to get suspended. They're going to get in trouble. Their grades are going to get knocked down. I mean, maybe they could be suspended, and we could just not say they wrote the test, but you could just figure out who got suspended, so you know who cheated on the test. I don't know. Anyway, there's a quick interlude before Alex and Mallory talk, where Alex and Jennifer talk, and she talks about her star again, and she goes, "I scored a goal with my head. I also scored a goal with someone else's head." So that was a good line. Um, I feel like you know what this episode was good. I feel like I'm not doing as good a job with the review. That's what I feel like today. Maybe I need to structure it differently. I Before I'd usually go through the plot and then go through the individual lines a little bit more. I don't know. This is a work in progress, and Alex and Mallory make up, but Alex is still kind of a jerk. He says maybe there's some sort of therapy group you could join for the Sisters of Geniuses. He doesn't get it, and he doesn't understand that that could be offensive. And but he goes in, he apologizes, and he says, "Don't you think it takes a big man to admit he was wrong?" And she looks him up and down and says, "Apparently not," because Alex is quite short. Anyway, they make up and they have a little funny scene where they try to do a math problem, and Alex just wants to get the math problem done, and Mallory is kind of distracted. Uh, it was really good. Yeah, pretty good. She's a bit of a airhead sometimes, but she's pretty smart. There's an episode that comes later that I have a bit of a problem with, but we'll get to that about her taking a test. We'll get to that. Bye.